number one problem that I've noticed working with students and customers is organization. Organization, we all struggle with it every day in every aspect of our lives. Photographs, what can be difficult with the photographs is that, okay, you know you have it, or you have inherited moments captured by other people, and you're happy, you're satisfied. So what we have to try to overcome is that complacency of, okay, I'm satisfied, I have the image I've always wanted. And we have to also organize. We have to put it in the right spot. This always begins with a plan. The plan is going to be unique to your needs. But there's some general principles we all should follow. I'll actually use this board to help demonstrate my points. And I will try to use good penmanship. You ever heard that oh, I'm gonna mess up that term, so I'm not gonna say it. But I'll put it like this. You should have one. It's all right. We have a whole set here of different except yellow. We have good. We should have one computer. And we should have one drive. And when I say drive, I really should say hard drive, because it's like a drive to the store to get the computer. What do you mean? And one folder. It's getting real sloppy like a professor here. Now, ideally, when we're using our computer, we use it more than for just photos. Okay, this morning, I want you to think about just photos. Okay, so your photos that you're digitizing or have digitized should be first on one computer. They should reside on one computer, not two. On that computer, and nowadays, you can put multiple hard drives on a computer, which is good. I recommend it. But one hard drive should be for your photos. So the hard drive where your bookkeeping or your taxes should be separate, or your work or other documents, things you type up, they should be on their own hard drive. All your photos should be on one. Then within that one hard drive should be one folder that says photos. Now, we're tempted, because of folders, we could do subfolders. We're tempted to put subfolders in here. So we could break it down and say, some of us want to break it down and say, so-and-so family, or 1980s, or whatever kind of category, grandchildren, that kind of thing. I'm going to propose to you today a different method, okay? And it seems messy and it seems sloppy, but it actually goes right along with modern technology. The way archiving is going nowadays in image databases is they're going in the direction of what's called tags. Okay? So within this folder, we're going to organize pictures with tags. Now this takes a little effort because you need the right software. And what's so great about it is it's available in the software you use and on websites and various ways to organize. The other reason why I say this is because just think, you take a bunch of pictures at a birthday party for a relative and you put them in your folder here, and you put a subfolder and you said so-and-so's birthday, and then 3 months pass by and you happen to scan some old photos you found, or you scan some old photos that are in an album that's falling apart. A couple months later you put them in another folder that says old photo album. Now you can see over the years what's going to happen is you're going to have all these jumbles of folders, and you may not remember, well, which old family photo album was it? So we need to have one repository, one place where you dump the photos. And preferably, you have a naming protocol for the photos, and we'll get to that. If you have your photos right now in more than one spot, it's good to know which spots they're in. Because if you have a scanner, usually when you install the scanner software, it by default makes its own folder somewhere on your hard drive. So you have to override that. And one way to do that is within the scanner software. How many of you have Epsons? How many of you have HP? Okay, how many of you have something else? Okay, what is the something else briefly, quickly?
Lexmark.
Lexmark? Canon? Brother? Lexmark? Okay, Canon. They actually work very similar. These things can be overridden. Now, when you override it, you want to tell it, I want you to dump it over here. Now, there could be a problem with something like iPhoto or whatever you use with a digital camera. A lot of times when you plug in a digital camera to your computer, it by default your computer will import it and dump it somewhere. Okay? If that's the case and you like that organization principle just for your camera, then just know where that is. I personally, when I shoot with my digital camera or with my smartphone, iPhoto, which is a program on the Macintosh, will import it to its own library. I leave that there. But everything else goes in its own spot. All right. When we're scanning, there's one thing that we sometimes don't have any control over, but we should work like crazy to have full control over that. And that is a naming protocol. So the name, a file name, this is where it starts, your organization. All right? Well, I'm sorry, this is where you start organizing the picture. Your organization starts up here with the process. All right? Now, if you don't want to do it this way, that's fine. I'm just going to build up to it. You're going to see what I mean, and you'll be able to use some of it for your own. The file name, as it says in the notes, I usually have done it one of two ways, and I'm leaning now more towards the other. And that is, you can use a file name based on the date of the photograph. Option A, based on date, shot. Now, if you're scanning old photos from an album and you don't remember when they were shot, or they're not marked down when they were shot, this can be a problem. But you can estimate too. The other one is based on scan date. Now, hopefully y'all can see this, right? I'm not going too low. I see some craning there next. I'm scared to erase it right now, so I will start up here. The main thing, whether you do it based on date shot or scan date, lead with the year. Year, 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 year. a 4-digit year, not 02, 03, 92, 81. That would be 2000, and today's date would be 2011, right?
Yeah.
Then you go month. Then you go day. And should all be leading zeros. So today's the 5th month. Should be 05. Today's the 14th day. 14. Then after that is what I call a slug. How many of you worked in newspapers? Okay, well I did. And we would slug a photo. We would slug a story so that the editor would have an idea of what this is. And that's where I would say the slug could be Bobby's 5th B-Day. Now, if you have 20 pictures of Bobby's 5th B-Day, what do you think you should name it? What should the slug be?
It should be the same with a number after it.
With a number after it. So, I'm running out of space, I'm sorry. So the number should be, now if you knew you shot less than 99, you would go 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4. You can set all that up. Now if your digital camera, usually the digital camera doesn't do that. But usually you can set your digital camera to at least give you the date. And then it gives you a number. That's where the tags come in. Alright? We'll get to that right now. Let's see, we're doing okay on time. This is actually a new lecture for me, so I'm trying to pace myself.
Is the number of photos?
So pardon me. So, okay, with the slug, so Bobby's 5th B-Day, is that what you mean?
Right.
Bobby's 5th B-Day, 01. That would be the first one. The first picture, if you shot more than one.
Okay, I see.
If you only shot 3, it'd be 01.
I thought they were all
02.
clumped together, okay.
Yeah. It's critical to try to do it this way. And if you can organize, you may not be able to do it at first, but you can do it later. You can do it next as part of your process. All right? Any questions on that? Yes.
I'm still confused.
Yes.
So I have to name, okay, I just shot film, and I downloaded it to my camera, and I have 25 pictures,
Yes.
and they're of graduation.
Yes.
Okay, so I download them, and I put them in a file
Yeah.
with the date on it, and then I put graduation.
You rename them. You
I have
make
to rename each
You
one
make sure the
individually?
names, I'll show you how to do it. It's called a batch process.
It sounds complicated.
Well,
Or time consuming.
I'm here to help you organize your photos. So I'm going to offer all kinds of ideas. You use what you can. The stuff that's too complicated, discard it.
I'm right now,
Okay.
and maybe it'll come, I have a hard time seeing the advantage to naming. Why not just dump them all into graduation and have 25 pictures in there?
Well, do it if that's what you want to do. Okay, but what my point is, it can become overwhelming over time after you have all these folders and you have to start looking through all these folders. Let me continue and I'll show you. Okay. So the next step is I have a plan of how I want to do this. And you should be, before you do anything, you should write a plan like I did. All right? And work it out. Because it's like setting up a garden. I don't know if any of you all have planned a garden, okay? It's really helpful to actually, in the winter or whenever, write down the things and draw out a quick sketch of where you want to plant what. And you buy the right seed and you put it down. As opposed to haphazardly, I think I'm going to get this and I think I'm going to get that. The next step would be scanning them. Now, there are a couple of tips I have here that are important to keep in mind. Now, when it comes to documents, documents have to be scanned as images. And you can scan your, let's say, a newspaper article of a particular relative, let's say, or one of your children that got mentioned in a newspaper. You scan it as an image, you know, a JPEG or a TIFF, preferably a TIFF, or you could do it as a PDF. Now, nice thing about a PDF, portable document format, is that it's a file format that's made for documents, not necessarily images. And you can do what's called an optical character reading, or OCR, pass with the right scanner software. That will make the document searchable. So you could actually open up the document. And I want to get it up here. I don't have I didn't have that PDF here. Did anyone bring a document? An article? That's okay. When you open it in Acrobat or Acrobat Reader, you can actually do a find file to find a particular word. Also, your computer, if it has an indexing process, which most modern computers today have, you'll be able to find it just searching through your documents. Now, a little tip for those of you who do this kind of thing and know what I'm talking about. Those of you who haven't, well, don't worry about this right now. But I recommend making an OCR version and a non-OCR version. And the reason why is because sometimes if you display the OCR version on an older smartphone like mine, or other places, it will be garbled. You'll be able to see it on your computer all right, but there's something about that optical character reading that can interfere with the display of your documents on other devices besides your computer. Just something I noticed and something I try to do now. Now, for the photos, when you're scanning your photos with your scanner, always scan it at least 100% size. Even if it's a big photo, we don't want to shrink it down. So I have someone, I would like to pull someone do we have any photos? We're still working over there. So does anyone have any photos on them right now that they can identify the people in it? I want photos of people. Ma'am? So come over here. And we're going to actually start something. And yeah, come and sit down. Great. Okay. So let's handle these properly. I don't have my gloves up here with me, but look at how I'm handling your picture.
Yes.
All right. That's how I want you to handle it. We don't want to put our thumbs there, especially if we were eating something greasy. Okay. And by the way, even if you wash your hands really good, they still got oil on them. All right? Even if they're dry and crusty and flaky and breaking up, you still got oil. You don't want them to touch the picture.
Can I ask a quick question?
Please, yeah, ask while I set this up. I'm going to take this.
For, like the scanner, you've got all sorts of settings there. Do all scanners have that on there?
Do all scanners have all these fancy settings? The scanner software does. But sometimes you don't see it because they're on automatic modes. Like here, this is called home mode. A lot less complicated. This one's called full auto mode. This does everything for you. I think it brushes your teeth too.
You like that one?
Yeah. I don't recommend this one.
I have a question for you. On scanning levels.
We're going to do a preview. Go ahead. Ask your question about scanning levels.
Right, okay, on the PPI, most of the scanners are set at 200 PPI.
Some scanners are at 200 or whatever. You have to override that. And as I recommend in the notes, 300 PPI.
Is there any reason
is the
to
minimum.
go higher?
If you want to go higher than 300 PPI, you should do that because you want the picture to be bigger. eventually. You want to be able to use it really big.
What is PPI?
PPI is short for pixels per inch. Now, in this scanner software right here, I'm going to zoom in, it says DPI. Does anybody know if there's a difference? Does anybody know the difference between DPI and PPI? Anybody, raise your hand. Okay. DPI is a term from the printing days. Dots per inch. These are halftone dots. For some reason, when it went over to digital, they kept that phrase. But the phrase is incorrect because there's no dots. These are pixels. Okay? They look like dots. They look like square dots. But actually they're pixels. So it's the same thing. There is a difference between LPI. But we won't get into that right now. Yes, in the back.
Is there a reason you wouldn't want to do it at a higher PPI even if you're not planning on it?
I'm giving you the minimums. I don't want you to go lower than 300 PPI at 100% size.
So just a space issue though, is that the only reason you wouldn't do it all the time at a higher?
Yeah, it will take up a lot of space on your hard drive to go higher, but with the prices of hard drives coming down and becoming bigger and processors getting faster, don't worry about it. You should experiment and see what happens. In my course, I have a whole big lesson on just image size, and you'll really get it right there. Okay, so now I'm going to look right here at my resolution is 300. It says DPI, but we know it's PPI, and my scale is 100%. And with small pictures like this, I like to crank it up to 150. And I want to do my scans. Now watch this. When I hit scan, it gives me what's called the dialog box. And I'm going to choose a folder to put it in. And remember what I was telling you about one spot? Well, we're going to pretend that this is that one spot. And it says Cary. And I'm doing that just for today's class. Now, what I was proposing is about the scan date. So let's do that for today, 2011-05-14. And then a dash. Then the start number is going to be 1. Now, I have 2 scans on here, and I've told the Epson scanner. By the way, this driver software you see is on all the Epsons. HP is a little more finicky. HP, I love their scanners. Their scanner software gets under my skin because I cannot control it. And I want the image format to be TIFF. And I will click OK. And it's going to scan these 2 pictures, and it's going to assign number 1 to the first one. It's going to assign number 2 to the second one. And every other scan I put on here, it's going to give it subsequent numbers. Okay? This is where scanning photos can be automated, as opposed to your digital camera, which you import, and you say, oh, you know, it gives me these weird file names. Okay? But by the way, all of your cameras, you can override the file naming process. You can customize it, so you have the date as I suggested. All right. So now it's. I didn't tell it to do 2. Sorry. So I'm going to click right here on the Christmas tree one, hit scan, and show you. Look at that. You look up here, it has already given it 002. All right? And I hit OK. After we do this, we'll come up. Now, when you have what I call a document photo hybrid, naturalization papers, that kind of thing, you'll notice it's a document with a photo on it. And what I recommend with that kind of thing is you scan the whole thing, picture and document. Then you scan the document only. And then you do an OCR and a non-OCR. That way you have, it's searchable, at least for some of the text. It won't be searchable for handwriting necessarily. But you can do that with what I'm going to get into is tagging or keywords. I want to make sure it's done. Okay, now what are we talking? We have many ways to work with our photos. Let's get a show of hands. How many of you have Adobe Photoshop Elements? Elements. Good. Okay. How many of you have Adobe Photoshop, like the big Photoshop? Okay. How many of you have GIMP? No? Okay. GIMP is over here. That's a free, great, it's like Photoshop. It's like a free Photoshop. Really great. GIMP. What else do you have? Raise your hand. Those who don't have Photoshop. Picasa. Yep. Picasa. Anything else? Anyone? Yeah.
I think my camera has like a Nikon.
Nikon. Yeah, Nikon has its own.
And work with it. It doesn't have a lot of things it does. But
Yeah. Well, I'm going to recommend to everyone to get what's called Photoshop Elements. I'm losing my voice already. That's not a good sign. And Photoshop Elements is less than $100. And I'm going to show you an old version of Photoshop Elements because the new one is great. But if you can get by with this old one that you could probably get on eBay for 30 bucks, you'll do great with the new one. Now, Photoshop Elements, I'm going to open one of your pictures. And I will go to File, Open. And it's running a little slow because I'm running a lot of things in here. And we go to our Cary folder. There's our picture. And we'll open. All right. So let's zoom in a little bit. Now, okay, good. I'm sorry about the screen and it looks dark and all that stuff. In the next class, we'll probably turn down these front lights. I think we actually, could you just hit, let's try it. Let's try it with one off. I want to show you something. We'll go to File and File Info. Now your other programs may have this. I know GIMP has it. And this is where the magic of organizing your pictures is set. And this is great for the long term as well. First, these fields you need to deal with. Let's see. You know what? I don't know if, can y'all see that?
Oh, yeah.
Sure, fine.
I'm going to, I hate to erase this, but we'll erase this part because y'all got that point. There's 3 fields that you got to worry about. And from now on with your photos, this is by the way, this is something that we call metadata, and you'll see that on your handout, metadata. All right? There's 3 fields we need to worry about. It's called title, description, keywords. All right? Title. 3 words, maybe 4. Okay? Let's talk about this, let's say concise. Let me define these for you all before we do yours. Now your description should be a, what I would call a 5W and H. You ever heard of that? Who, what, why, when, where, so small, I'm sorry, how. Your description should consist of who, what, why, when, where, and how. That's what the description should say for this image. Your keywords. This is critical to get right. And I know y'all looking at me, man, it's a lot of work. But I tell you, when you search with keywords and you find the picture that you want, you'll be so glad you did it right. Especially if you've got an archive of hundreds or thousands of images. Your keywords have to be, they should be based on your description. So if you describe these people, their names, where they are, what they're doing, that should be part of your keywords as well. And that's what will be searched for. based on your description, and they should be in words. In words or phrases. Separated. I'm sorry this isn't on your notes. I had a vision one night when I was asleep, and all of this came into my mind after I turned in the syllabus. Separated by commas. Commas with a C, not a K. Woo, that handwriting is getting worse as the day progresses. Pardon me. Now, there are optional fields. We won't worry about that right now. Sometimes your camera will put the fields in. Yes, in the back.
I'm sorry, but considering that we're talking about possibly thousands of photos.
Yeah.
Why would we use similar words and keywords as a description? That sounds fairly redundant and time consuming. So why would we not just put it in the keywords field?
Because you generally, most catalogs or cataloging and archiving, especially software-based, and if you're going to start sharing it, because right now the internet is becoming a place where people share images, even in a closed network, like a family website that's locked in by passwords or something. Generally, these programs searching the keyword section of the metadata in a file. They don't always search description, and you might have to search description separately from keywords, so it's better to do a keyword search. We'll get into it right now. Okay, I need you have these photos now. I'm going to give them to you carefully, so you have him in front of you. And we're going to come up with a title for these handsome men, and we're going to call them, who are they? Talk to me.
The one on the right-hand side is my father, Phil Allen.
Okay.
And on the left is his friend from his Navy days in World War II.
Good. So we're going to say Phil
and Frank.
We're going to say Phil. Let's give him his last name.
Lapalli.
Spell it.
L-A. P-A.
P-A.
L-I-O.
L-I-O. And friend.
There you go.
Now we go to what's called the description. Now in some programs they switch terminology, but the metadata works the same way. It translates the same way. So in Photoshop Elements, they call this field caption. That's going to be our description. Like a caption in a photo that you might see for a news article. Okay, so we're going to say Phil Lapalli and his friend,
Frank.
Frank, do you know his last name?
I don't remember it right now.
Okay. In Navy uniform, right?
Yes.
Is it U.S. Navy?
Yes.
Okay.
US Navy.
So we want to say in U.S. Navy uniform. Do you know where they are?
Seattle, Washington.
In Seattle, Washington, USA. And on what date?
1944. Probably.
And we'll do a period, possibly 1944. Okay, does that sound good?
Sounds good.
And anything else? You come up with those 5 W, who, what, why, when, where, and how? Do you know where this was? Was this at a Walgreens or something? Anything?
They were on leave.
On leave? On leave? Okay. Hopefully they were not intoxicated. Okay. Now we're going to do the keyword. All right. Now here's what we do. Phil, and we can keep it lowercase if we want. Lapalli, comma. Now friend, we'll leave that out. We'll say, because we have his name. So we'll say Frank. Now if he was unknown, we would say unknown friend instead of Frank. Comma. We'll say Frank, comma, and we'll say we're going to say Navy. All right? We're going to say USA, comma. And we're going to say Seattle, comma, Washington. We could say Washington State, but let's just say Washington. We'll say 1944. And then we could do some other things. Let's talk about this picture. Looks like he's got a cigarette pack in his pocket, right?
Lucky Strikes.
Lucky Strike? Lucky Strike. Is that the name of the brand? Lucky Strike?
Yeah,
I'm not familiar. I forget.
They were free.
They were free at the time. Smoking was good for you.
No, they were free to military personnel.
Free to military. It's good, healthy. I remember reading something old that said it's good for your something. Wow, amazing.
Philip Morris probably put that out.
Yeah.
It's good for you.
Yeah. Now we could say what war? But this would be World War II. So we could say WWII. You know, we could say black and white, B&W, because it's a black and white photo. We could say what kind of shots were these called? They were called photo booth, right?
Right.
Photo booth. Because you may be looking for, you know, Grandpa Phil in a photo booth picture. And here it will show up. Okay. Anything else that comes to mind with this picture? Men, let's save a copy. Don't save your original as a JPEG. Save a copy. All right? So give me a minute. I'm going to save as JPEG. And right there. And it's saving as the best quality. Sorry, I went too fast for you guys. Okay. See these settings here? It should be maximum, baseline, JPEG options. That's how you do it. Now we're going to upload and it's going to work. Sorry about that. I try to prepare for this and I'm not always prepared. Okay, fantastic. So we look at the picture and look. It gives us the description. Okay? Oh, I got to click OK. Now some of these catalogs ignore the title, but they show the description. So when I click on the photo, it gives us the description right here. And it didn't give us the keywords. What the heck? Oh. I swear I tested this out. Oh, here it is. Okay, thank God. All right. All right. Okay. So here's what we do. Again, this is just one way, but I just wanted to show you the diversity of using metadata to help you organize. So what I did is I clicked on Full Details page, right there. And there's our keywords. There's our title. And our description is right under the photo. Okay? Now, when we tell a relative, okay, all the photos are at the Picasso web, here's the link, and they want to search for Lucky Strike, okay, my photos, sorry, I have to, okay, my photos. All right, that didn't work, but trust me, when you organize like this, it makes working so much easier for you for researching and searching. Okay? So any questions? Yes, in the back.
So this isn't to be used to download the metadata later. This is only if you've already done it on photo element or something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would, okay, you could do your details online. But I recommend doing it where you start. Because then it will be right in that file that you dump into your main folder. And when you have a program like this, oh, there was one thing, and we got 5 minutes, and I have to show you. I have to show you this. Extensis Portfolio. There is a program called Portfolio by Extensis. And it is what's called DAM, Digital Asset Management. And it's used by professionals and regular folk like us. Libraries use it, companies use it, and it follows a really nice principle. And I just created a test portfolio catalog. And I am now going to add our pictures. In fact, I'm going to add all three. It takes everything. It'll take your movies. It'll take your documents. And I'm going to hit OK. Now, there's some settings I might needed to have done. I click, it just added them to the catalog. Perfect. All right. And it puts the keywords. All the keywords are here. It extracted it all. In the fields, tells us everything that we saw in Bridge. And for some reason, it's giving it to us 3 times. I haven't figured that out. The description. But the point is, we have, this could be a bug in the software. That's really odd. I've never had that problem before because I use Portfolio for my professional work and for my family photos. So I've never had that problem where the description shows up twice. But this is a really nice way to organize your photos. It's Extensive's Portfolio. It's a little pricey, and like I said, you might as well get Elements, the latest Elements, which has Bridge. And that will be your database, your management.
Is Elements kind of a cheaper version of a database software for managing the metadata and
No.
everything?
Photoshop Elements is a cheaper version of Adobe Photoshop, and Bridge, which comes with the latest Photoshop Elements, is like a cheaper database.
Of Portfolio.
Of Portfolio.
Okay.
Not as robust.
Right, but both of those come with like metadata editing and batch metadata editing
Yeah.
capabilities?
Yeah. Yeah, they all have that where you can go in and tweak your metadata.
Do you know if both those let you tweak dates? Because I've had situations before where I'm on a vacation, I found out I had the year set wrong on the date, and I found some open source software, and I ended up tweaking the year on all those photos, but it was not easy to do.
That's called a batch rename.
Yeah.
The date was in the file. I'm sorry, did you say
The date was not in the file name, the date
It
was
was in the
metadata.
metadata.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be a batch process. Portfolio would do that easier than Bridge.
Okay.
You might have some issues doing that in Bridge.
Okay.
I think it would be almost impossible. And just give me 1 second on that. I just want to show you in Extensive Portfolio, I did a search for cow, and I got nothing. It's because there was no keyword, but I did a search for lucky, and I got all these photos because the keyword is lucky strike in all these keywords. Okay? So if you wanted to do a search, like I said, 1980s, if you use that keyword as 1980s for a number of pictures you scanned in, you'll get all the photos from 1980s. Isn't that cool? You know. So, anyways, in the back, yes.
Yeah, speaking of batch,
Yes.
do you have a moment to show us how to do the naming convention in a batch mode, so we're not doing that for every single, if there's
Yeah.
700 photos?
Okay. So we got 3 pictures, and they're all 2011, 0514, blah blah blah. Okay. So what I do is I go to what's called Tools. This is in Bridge, only available in Bridge. Doing it this way. It's called Batch Rename. All right. And I get all of my new file name information here. Let's say it was wrong. Okay, it was actually the 10th. Okay, so we do something called string substitution. I like the year is fine, the month is fine, the number is fine. You know, the slug. But that it shouldn't be 14, it should be 10. So I'm going to type in 10. I'm sorry, 10. I'm going to type in 14 and replace it with 10. All right. Now this is in the latest Photoshop Elements, Adobe Photoshop Bridge. And boom, it changes it after I hit rename. So they're all now the 10. Now that's because I selected all of them. I didn't have to do that for all of them. But we were just saying. I shot, oops, you know. Now that's the file name. You asked about batch renaming.
Well, I'm thinking more like if you have, you know, Bobby's B-Day, do you have to go into 300 photos and do 01, 02, 03, or can you upload it so that it adds the incremental number?
Oh, you want to do that? Yeah. Yeah, you could do that. Yeah, you can. I lost my...
Because the things you're talking about now are after the photo's already in. I'm still stuck on how do I, you know, you go from Bobby's birthday to a prom competition to a softball game, and I've got 600 photos. I'm not spending time going through 600 renamers for one, honestly. So. Well,
you know, again, it's up to you. It's up to you. But I'm going to give you what I know, which I use professionally, and I'm going to give you what I think is prime information. You know what I mean? It's like geek stuff, but it's valuable, okay? So, you know, if you have these pictures and it's Bobby's B-Day, these two pictures are Bobby's B-Day, theoretically, is that what we're saying?
She's
I'm
talking about
getting
downloading
an
them.
initial tagging, not tagging, but the file name.
Okay, fine. If you
Downloading
don't, you don't have to do that.
Okay.
But the most important thing, though, they could be filed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and ooga booga and whatever you want. But the key is in the tags. You got to have Bobby in there as a keyword.
I think what she's asking is, if you have a bunch of, when you import from a camera,
yeah,
it's either going to default to some sort of file name set where, like for a Nikon, it says DSC underscore,
yep.
It might say the date,
IMG,
and it's going to increment it after that.
Yep.
So, I mean, my situation, I have literally like 10,000 photos
yep.
that follow that naming convention. That's okay.
Yep.
But I would like to maybe convert to a different one. So
yep.
do some of these capabilities allow you to do batch renames of thousands of files?
That's just what I showed you.
Okay, so that's that. So when you, and then are you asking about import initially?
Yeah, so when you import, so let's say you don't import after each event, you do 3 weeks later, and I have 600 pictures from 3 different events.
Yeah.
I put the title,
yeah.
upload, and then I'll say May 2011,
yeah.
and I'll put one of the events in the title, but now my folder is called that, and then all those pictures have that. I don't want it to say Bobby's birthday for the prom competition.
Right, yeah, you don't do that then. Okay. You don't do that. You enter whatever you want. I mean, it's that you don't have to do it this way. You know, like I said, everyone has a different need, and if you are importing stuff from a camera, oftentimes it's different from scanning originals, film, prints, whatever, because oftentimes the camera is importing it somewhere else, it does it a different way, okay? So what I'm trying to do is marry the two realities, and that is we all have prints and negatives, and we all have digital pictures that we shot with a camera, okay? And I'm trying to give you information, things to think about, and you come up with your own workflow that works for you. And hopefully something out of what I gave you, you'll leave here and say, I can use something. That helped. Yes?
I got a box from my grandmother with the pictures in it, and there's about 100, let's say. Okay. And they're priceless, okay? I'll keep them forever, and maybe my kids will throw them away.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of naive to think that people are going to save from generation to generation 10,000 photos. I would suggest take 100 photos that you really think are prized, that you want to carry down from generation to generation, and put them someplace else instead of mixing them with this 10,000, 100,000 photos that you think your kids are going to deal with someday, because they'll delete them.
Well, I mean, you know, we all have experiences with our family and our children, but not everyone is the same, and so we have to have all the ideas out there. What you're saying is a good idea, but what I'm going to give you the ideal.
No, there's nothing wrong with this. I'm just saying, but
Yeah.
Good suggestion.
So you're
But-
saying like
yeah.
put it on a CD or something?
Well,
But something, if
we
you really
didn't-
want, if you think these are
'Cause I'm
precious,
like you, I've
and you
got
want
five,
to have
so-
these for generations, don't mix them up with all of these here. Realize that the ones you really want to save get put someplace else where they can be identified somewhat, you know.
Historical.
You know, we're not promised tomorrow. So it's definitely good to go through the most important ones, like he said, and get copies archived and send it to other relatives. Like my sister in North Carolina has a lot of our family photos that are already scanned. So if something happens to me, she'll have something. Ideally, though, I should give it to cousins and other people too. You know what I mean? And they may not care. But if all of us are dead and gone, someone's going to have those pictures of our great-great-grandmother. You know what I mean? Someone's going to have it, like you said. Okay.
And I think the other important thing to tag along with that is whatever format you save things in, make sure you update it as technology changes. Or have it up online on Grafix or, you know.
I didn't get into that. That's for another workshop. But I would like to write down something real quick for you. And this is what I recommend for your archiving. Okay, there's a difference. There's an archive and there's a backup. These are very different. A backup is daily, ideally. Okay? Backup goes to a separate hard drive. That's it. You might, if you want to get real fancy, there's things called tape drives. But I say stick with this. It's a lot easier to figure out. Your archive should be like this. It goes from hard drive, we'll call it permanent home, to DVD-R, and then to another DVD-R.
So 2 copies?
Yep, at least. This one, off-site. That means you got a relative, you got a child, a sibling. Here, what do I do with this? Just put it in a safe place. Then, after this, the next thing will be, you know, GVG, I don't know. You know, they're going to have all kinds of stuff. You got to move these to the next generation. Okay? And I promise you, it will be easier. You will probably be able to take 10 DVDs and migrate them quickly to the next thing. Okay? And these, what's nice about DVD-R is they're more stable than a lot of the other things, especially RW. Go ahead.
And do you always save them as the large, you know, like I was taught that you use your camera on the highest settings because that's why you buy a good camera. So you can take. But that, it is a problem downloading them sometimes onto websites. But when you do it, and on a CD, it takes, you know, you can't put very many on there. But so you're always saving them as the largest file. Should you? I mean, yeah.
I say 300, at least 300 PPI, 100% size. You probably won't need it bigger than that anyways.
Right.
And you can blow it up a little bit from there if you have to.
And you use it at your, however many, like if your camera takes it at 8, 10, or 12,
Yeah.
whatever they're at now, you save it at the highest.
Yeah. You have to. Do it. And then, you know, yeah. Okay, sorry, it's kind of rushed. I hope you learned something. Was it okay?
Yes, wonderful.
I saw some people run out.